It was a rare moment of peace. I had just settled onto my worn-out couch with a hot cup of tea, finally allowing myself a deep breath after a long day at the food processing plant. The low hum of the city outside my window was oddly comforting, a stark contrast to the chaos that usually defined my life. Then my phone buzzed, and kept buzzing. I frowned at the screen. Dozens of missed calls from my parents, Richard and Linda. My stomach twisted. They never called this much unless they wanted something. Reluctantly, I picked up. I barely had time to say hello before my father's voice erupted through the receiver. "You lying, ungrateful brat. Your sister sends us $120,000 a month, and you send a pathetic $900? Are you mocking us?" I pulled the phone away from my ear, wincing at the sheer volume of his rage. My mother wasn't far behind, her voice sharp and full of disgust. "Do you think it's okay to live your selfish, lavish life while we suffer? Maddie sacrifices so much for us, and you can't even do the bare minimum." My breath hitched. 900? What were they talking about? I had been sending them $120,000 a month, just like Maddie. That was the agreement. Confusion tangled with anger as I struggled to find my voice. "Dad, that's not true. I send you $120,000 every single month." There was a pause, a sharp inhale from my father, before he scoffed. "Lies. Don't insult our intelligence. Maddie sends that amount. You send scraps. You always have." Public humiliation begins. Before I could process his words, I heard the chime of my laptop. A notification popped up on my screen. My father had posted about me on Facebook. "Some daughters are a blessing. Others are selfish, heartless disappointments. Imagine raising a child for decades, only for them to abandon you in your time of need. Thank God for Maddie, our only real daughter." A sick feeling rose in my throat. He was airing this to everyone. The phone calls started flooding in. Relatives, cousins, even old family friends. My aunt's voice cut through the chaos. "Amanda, how could you do this? No wonder your parents always preferred Maddie. I was being villainized for a crime I didn't commit. I should have seen this coming. It had always been this way." Growing up, Maddie was the golden child, the beautiful one, the star. She had acting lessons, modeling gigs, private tutors. My parents poured every penny into shaping her future, ensuring she had everything she wanted. Me, I was the afterthought. When Maddie decided she wanted her own bedroom, my parents didn't hesitate. They moved me into the garage. A thin mattress, a single lamp, and the constant smell of motor oil became my reality. My parents never saw an issue with it. "You don't have as many things as Maddie, so you don't need a big space," Mom had reasoned, waving off my tears like I was overreacting. Birthdays came and went without celebrations. Gifts? Only when Maddie didn't want hers. I wore her old clothes, some with her initials still stitched into the collars. Even my teachers assumed I was the boring one. People pitied me, not because they knew the truth, but because I paled in comparison to Maddie's radiance. Then, there was the final betrayal. At 17, I had one dream: to become a nurse. I sat my parents down, excitement bubbling in my chest as I talked about college applications. Richard had laughed. "We need to save for Maddie's future. You'll figure something out." And just like that, my dreams were discarded for Maddie's next acting class. I was forced into the workforce right after high school, working soul-crushing jobs, while Maddie flourished at a prestigious university, completely funded by our parents. Shook my head, forcing myself back to the present. The money, the accusations. Something wasn't adding up. Heart pounding, I grabbed my laptop and logged into my bank account. My hands trembled as I scanned my transactions. There it was. $120,000. Every single month. The payments had been going through. So why were they saying I only sent $900? Then it hit me. A cold, sinking realization. Years ago, Maddie had suggested we send money anonymously under the name Rainbow. I never questioned it. It had seemed like a simple enough way to keep the focus on helping our parents. But staring at my transaction history, the pieces clicked into place. Maddie's stage. Name was Rain. Oh my God. The payments. The records. They were crediting her with my money. She was stealing my recognition, and my parents believed it. I felt sick. I had been working overtime, taking second jobs, cutting corners in my own life, to fund her lifestyle, while she took all the credit. I had spent years trying to prove myself. Years thinking that if I just gave enough, worked hard enough, maybe they would love me like they loved her. But this was the final straw. I wasn't just invisible to them. I was a paycheck, a bank account, a disposable asset. And for the first time in my life, I realized I was completely alone. I barely slept. The betrayal clung to me, suffocating, inescapable. Morning light seeped through my apartment window, but it didn't warm me. My parents' voices still rang in my head, accusing, ungrateful, cruel. I needed answers. I called Maddie. She answered on the second ring, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Sis, to what do I owe the pleasure?" I didn't bother with pleasantries. "You stole from me." A beat of silence, then a laugh. Not nervous, not guilty, amused. "Oh, come on, Amanda. Let's not be dramatic." My nails dug into my palm. "I've been sending that money. You took credit for it, and you let Mom and Dad humiliate me." Another chuckle. "Relax. They wouldn't appreciate you even if they knew the truth. Besides, I actually deserve it. Unlike you." I felt my stomach drop. She meant it. Maddie wasn't ashamed. She was proud. She continued, her voice casual, as if discussing the weather. "You're boring, Amanda. You work a dead-end job. I'm the one who actually makes something of herself." My throat tightened. "You're not making anything of yourself, Maddie. You're living off me." The laughter stopped. For a moment, I thought I had gotten through to her. Then she sneered, "Well, maybe if you were worth something, they'd love you more." Click. She hung up, and just like that, every last piece of hope I had left in my family shattered. I called my parents next, desperate to hear them say it was a mistake, that they didn't know. But Richard didn't let me finish. "She's our future, Amanda." His voice was dismissive. "You should be grateful we even acknowledge you." "Grateful?" Linda sighed, bored. "Honestly, I don't know why you're being so selfish. You don't need that money like Maddie does. My own parents didn't just defend her. They justified it. They believed Maddie was entitled to my hard-earned money because she was prettier, more exciting, the child worth investing in." I hung up before they could hear me cry, but the final knife came from where I least expected it. Sarah. My best friend. She had been my rock since high school, the one person I thought would always stand by me. So when I showed up at her apartment that evening, shaking, eyes swollen from crying, I expected support. Instead, she folded her arms and sighed. "Amanda, you have to stop making this about you." My chest tightened. "They stole from me, Sarah. My own sister humiliated me." She gave me a look of disapproval, like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "They're your parents, Amanda. If you were a better daughter, maybe they'd love you more." A cold numbness spread through me. She really believed that. She believed I deserved this. I turned on my heel and walked out. I was alone. Alone, but not broken. Not yet. I spent the next few hours digging through Maddie's finances, if she was going. To steal from me, I needed to know what I had been paying for, and what I found made me sick. Maddie's lavish lifestyle. All of it, funded by me. Luxury vacations to Europe, Bali, Dubai. Designer handbags worth more than my rent. VIP, clubbing, $1,000 nights at upscale lounges. A sugar baby lifestyle. Spoiling rich older men with gifts, using my money to keep up appearances. Meanwhile, Richard and Linda were no better. Gambling debts, expensive cruises, new cars. They weren't struggling. They were indulging, and I was funding every bit of it. I clenched my fists. No more. I stopped sending money. Immediately. That night, I sent a single text to our family group chat. Amanda, I know the truth. Don't ever contact me for money again. The response was instantaneous. Richard, how dare you? We raised you. You owe us. Linda, you selfish little brat, after everything we've done for you. Maddie, LMAO, you'll come crawling back. And then the real threat arrived. Richard called, voice cold. You signed an agreement when you first started sending money, Amanda. That's a promise. My stomach twisted. What? If you refuse to pay, he continued, we'll take legal action. I nearly dropped the phone. They were threatening to sue me. Linda's voice was eerily calm. You always wanted to prove your worth, Amanda. Here's your chance. They weren't just greedy. They were monsters. But as the line went dead, something inside me changed. I had spent my whole life trying to earn their love. But love shouldn't be earned. And if this was what being a Sullivan meant, then I wanted nothing to do with them. For the first time in my life, I felt free. No more calls, no more accusations, no more siphoning off my hard-earned money. I blocked their numbers. A part of me expected immediate retaliation, threats, lawsuits, dramatic public breakdowns. But at first, there was silence. It didn't last. Maddie was the first to crack. With no more money flowing in, she did what she did best, burned through every dollar she had left. Maxed out credit cards, shady brand deals, pushing knockoff products. Fake giveaways, scamming her own followers. Her desperation was obvious. Her Instagram posts became erratic. The carefully curated life of luxury, gone. No more vacations, no more designer clothes, her followers noticed. Maddie, what happened to your Chanel bags? Why are you pushing these sketchy ads? This isn't luxury life anymore. Are you broke? She tried to keep up the illusion, but she was drowning. Meanwhile, my parents' empire of entitlement crumbled. Without my money, their real lifestyle emerged, one built on gambling, debt, and reckless spending. Richard's gambling losses piled up. Linda tried to sell her luxury handbags, but no one wanted secondhand desperation. The mortgage fell behind. Then it happened. They were evicted. I found out through a relative's Facebook post. Can't believe Richard and Linda lost their house. So sad. Sad, I almost laughed. These were the same people who had mocked me, belittled me, stolen from me, and now they had nothing. It was poetic justice. The public fallout hit Maddie first. A former assistant leaked messages showing how Maddie scammed followers and brands. The internet turned on her. Her brand deals? Gone. Her Instagram followers? Vanishing. Her reputation? Destroyed. The comments were brutal. LMAO. Turns out Maddie was just a fraud. Imagine pretending to be rich while stealing from your own sister. No wonder her family went bankrupt. Guess she can't fake luxury anymore. She went viral, but not in the way she wanted. Richard was next. A news article exposed his gambling addiction. His boss saw it. He lost his job. Now, jobless, homeless, and broke, my parents were exactly where they had left me all those years ago, without support. While their world crumbled, I thrived. I poured my energy into work, studying for my business certification. Months later, I was promoted. I surrounded myself with real friends, people who valued me, not my wallet. I wasn't just surviving. I was living. And for the first time, I felt something I had never felt growing up in that house. Happiness. I should have known they'd come back. It had been 3 months since I cut them off. 3 months of silence from the people who had once demanded everything from me. Until today. The knock at my door was frantic, desperate. I knew before I even looked through the peephole. I took a slow breath and opened it. There they were. Maddie, Richard, Linda, or at least what was left of them. Maddie was a shadow of her former self. The glossy designer wardrobe, gone. Replaced with cheap knockoffs and faded jeans. Her once perfect hair was messy, dark roots showing through the last remnants of an expensive dye job. Richard and Linda weren't much better. Their usual arrogance was gone. Instead, they looked small, worn, like people who had finally learned what it meant to struggle, and yet they still had the audacity to beg. "Amanda, please," my mother started, her voice shaking. "We need help. Just a little money. Just for a few months," Richard added quickly. "We'll pay you back." Maddie lowered her head, biting her lip. The fake confidence was gone. For the first time, she looked scared. I crossed my arms. "You want money? From me?" Linda nodded, tears welling up. "We're family," she whispered. I stared at them for a long moment, and then, without a word, I closed the door in their faces. They weren't my family. Not anymore, but it wasn't over. 2 days later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Debt collectors. Maddie had borrowed money from loan sharks, and now they were looking for me. "Ms. Sullivan, your family has significant outstanding debts." "Oh, I cut them off. I don't know these people." The man on the other end hesitated. "They listed you as a financial guarantor." I laughed, cold and sharp. Then they lied. I hung up, and just like that, I erased myself from their mess. Richard and Linda finally filed for bankruptcy. They lost everything. What little they had left was seized. They were forced into a tiny, run-down apartment, the kind they had always looked down on. Maddie, the future star, had nowhere left to go. She tried to cling to the influencer world, but her reputation was in ruins. Eventually, she took a job as a cocktail waitress in a dingy bar, serving the same people she used to mock. The world had finally seen through their lies, and I never looked back. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the cliffs of San Diego. The air was warm, carrying the soft hum of laughter and the distant sound of waves crashing against the shore. I stood at the edge of the reception hall, watching Scarlett twirl in her wedding dress, her face alight with happiness. She caught my eye and winked before turning back to her husband, lost in their own world. It was beautiful. It was something I had never thought I'd witness without an ache in my chest. But today, I felt free. Scarlett found me by the champagne table and linked her arm through mine. "You know," she mused, "you're glowing tonight. Not bad for someone who used to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders." I smiled. A real one this time. "Turns out life is a lot lighter when you're not paying for 3 ungrateful people." She laughed and nodded toward someone behind me. "Speaking of fresh starts, I want you to meet someone." I turned, and my breath caught. Tall, broad-shouldered, with warm hazel eyes and a quiet confidence, Ethan extended a hand. "Ethan Carter," he said. "Scarlett's been talking about you all night." I shook his hand, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. As we talked, I let myself be present. For the first time in my life, I wasn't looking back. I was finally moving forward,